Welcome to How Can I Keep From Singing, where we explore the power of singing together. My name's Stuart Stotts, coming to you from rural Wisconsin. Each week we interview a different song leader or thought leader about how and why this activity has held such sway over humans for so many years, and maybe what you can do to join this powerful artistic tradition. My guest this week is Matt Watroba. Matt has spent most of his adult life sharing his knowledge and passion for folk music with just about anyone who would listen. As a performer, Matt has delivered thousands of shows in just about every setting you can think of. As a song leader, he's committed to inspiring or facilitating at least 100 community sings every year somewhere in this country. He's also produced and hosted a variety of public radio shows and podcasts since 1986. In 2019, Matt was inducted into the Folk DJ Hall of Fame as part of the Folk Alliance International Conference in Montreal. He lives just outside of Detroit, Michigan. Matt, welcome to How Can I Keep From Singing? I'm so delighted you can be a part of this today.
I'm both delighted to be here and delighted that there's a podcast all about people singing together, because it has been a really important part of my life for the last 20 years.
Well, and that's, of course, partly why I'm happy to have you on here, and not just your life for the last 20 years, but human life for thousands of years.
Right,
so
absolutely.
We're part of a very long tradition here. Let's start with just asking about, I was intrigued by this number, 100 community sings a year. That's a lot of community singing. Can you tell us about kind of what leads you to that and how you go about doing these 100 sings a year?
Well, I think it was 2008, maybe in September, I was doing some concerts out in the Boston area, and I got a call. I was at the time I was writing and producing a radio show for Sing Out magazine, which some of your audience might remember. And I got a call from the editor, Mark Moss, and he said, Pete Seeger is turning 89. Or he's 89 now, and he's going to be 90 in April or May. And he said it would be fine if you had time to swing down and do a quick interview in his hometown of Beacon, New York. Would you be interested? And I said, well, yes, I would be. And so I did. I went down on a rainy September morning to the Sloop Club right on the banks of the Hudson River with the Woody Guthrie sailboat in the background, the one that cleaned up the Hudson River, and met Pete for about 50 minutes, just me and him. I was, of course, I had met him before, but when you spend that kind of time with your heroes, you can only hope they'll live up to, your hero kind of worship of him. And boy, he did. He was just an amazing man. And I told him on that day, that I don't think anybody could carry on all of his work, no one person but Pete. But I said one part of his work I would carry on would be to continue getting people to sing along. He told me at that time that getting people to sing was the most important work he did in his life. And I thought, this is a guy who's done a lot of important work, so maybe I should pay attention. And I did. I told him that day that I would inspire or facilitate 100 community sings a year. The way I do that is in several ways. I teach it. In fact, I'm preparing right now to head down to North Carolina to spend a week at the Swannanoa Gathering, which is a 4-week music camp down in the western mountains of North Carolina. And I'm going to be teaching classes on how to be a song leader, how to bring this into your community. It's happening, as you know, Stuart, in little pockets kind of under the radar all over the country. But I think it's really important that maybe we get together and talk about best practices and make it a little more organized so that we can help each other do the best job we can. And I specialize in especially sort of library community sings. I love gathering people at the local library on a monthly basis. In fact, I have one coming up on Tuesday that we've been doing now for over 10 years, every last Tuesday of the month, every month for 10 years. I have never participated in anything as a performer that has built community in the way that singing in a circle has done. I'm teaching people how to do that. Before COVID, I had 5 or 6 of them going in the Detroit area alone on a monthly basis. So yeah, they add up pretty quick. And I think we've been pretty good at facilitating or having 100 of them a year.
It's an unbelievable commitment. And then to see it take root and wing in this way. is so
Nothing
great.
makes me happier than to get an email from somebody saying, "Hey, I took your class and now we meet monthly in, Charlotte, North Carolina or in Tennessee," and that's happening all over the country. And, how many times do we have to say, we need this now more than ever? But let's face it, we need this now more than ever.
Everybody I've spoken with so far has mentioned Pete Seeger as the luminary,
Yeah.
really. If there was one person I could have on this podcast, it would be Pete, of course. So he provided some inspiration here. I assume that you were singing with people before that as well, that this didn't just pop out of that interview.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that was always an important part of my concerts. I'm a songwriter as well as an interpreter of songs and traditional songs and other people's songs. And when I stand in front of an audience with the purpose of entertaining them with the folk music that I know about, sing-alongs were always a part of it. But when I started doing these intentional community sings, I started doing more of that in my concerts as well because I just started realizing what power it has. Our job as performers is to connect. And I have never found anything that connects people more than what Pete talked about, which is getting them to sing together. I'll often start my concerts with a Pete Seeger inspired warm up, which involves singing Amazing Grace with really holding out the lines really long. And when we get done with that, it has transformed the audience. They're like ready. They've forgotten about parking their car and babysitters and whatever was on their mind. And all of a sudden, through that power of singing together, they become one. I'd like to think we were to begin with. We just forget sometimes.
I do know this experience, and it is incredibly powerful. You're someone who's taken it way beyond the average folk singer who has some sing-alongs thrown in to their set.
I often joke, I'll say other folk singers will tell you to sing along, but I guarantee you they don't mean it as much as I do.
I like it. All right, so you're going down to do a class, basically, in how to do this. Can you give me and us a 5-minute version of that class?
Now, the way I do it when I have the opportunity to do it at camps, and like I said, I'll be doing it at Swannanoa. I've done it at the Augusta camp as well, a few other camps. Usually we have 5 days of about, maybe hour and 15-minute classes. And what I like to do is model it. So I'll show them, we'll do a community sing and I'll stop along the way and talk about why I do it this way, why we did it this way, always open for questions. I'll encourage them to lead songs as well. The thing about song leading is that it looks easy, but it's really not. To do it well, you spend a lot of time figuring out how to do little tricks like saying the line before you sing it, that Pete was known for. That takes practice, just like anything else takes practice. Nobody really does it naturally.
Let me rise up, like a bird.
You're listening to How Can I Keep From Singing? My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today is Matt Watroba.
Gracefully.
We'll sit down and I'll go, well, let me show you how I do this, what I think about when I line a song out. I teach them all the different styles of songs that work, from songs that are just part of our DNA, like Country Roads or You Are My Sunshine, to songs that are maybe call and response, songs that you can teach on the fly without looking down at lyrics or without looking down at a book. I'll teach them quite practically how to approach your library to give you a room and to promote it. And I believe in song leaders getting paid. So also how to get sponsorship for this kind of stuff. It brings so much value to people that doing it well, you deserve to get paid for it.
Let's dig just a little deeper into that. What are some other things that you model or considerations that you have as a song leader to make sure that it's a successful experience?
For as many song circles as there's that many different ways of doing it. And I find that a lot of the ones that I lead locally are not with experienced singers. So we keep that in mind. In fact, one of the things that I talk about is that you're bound to run into people who have actually experienced trauma. when it comes to singing, like they were told young not to sing and that they didn't their whole lives. So first and foremost, like anybody who's a teacher will know this, the first thing you have to do is create the safest environment as possible. So you have to let them know that we are not recording this. We are not form a choir. Nobody's here from The Voice to scout, singers. We are here for one purpose, and that is to unleash the joy and the power and connection that community singing brings us. So I tell them, I don't care if you're a good singer, a bad singer, I don't use those kinds of words. People who show up and sing, that's the courage we're looking for. So, you set that environment.
I think that the damage that's been done to the American singing experience by things like The Voice and American Idol, where people are humiliated for
Right.
not having voices that meet some standard. It builds on that trauma you're talking about, because I have found that trauma is quite widespread, where people have decided for themselves through having, not for themselves, but through having been told or shamed
That's right.
about their singing. Part of the work is offering that safe space and helping people repair that this is our common heritage to sing together.
And it's also, there's all kinds of precedent for it. Really, entertainment and singing and music as a spectator sport that's really only the last 100 years. The 100 years before that, we sang the babies to sleep, and we had a dishwashing song, and we had songs when people passed into the next world. We had songs for everything. And so it's not like we're making it up. We do have a tradition to draw on. And I try to remind them of that. And I try to remind them that in this hour and a half together, you couldn't be in a safer space. And I'll tell you, I know when things are working, when I can tell you several times this has happened, where somebody would come up literally with tears in their eyes saying, I have not felt safe enough to sing until we came here a couple months ago. I've had people come up and say, I didn't want to tell the group this, but I have been using this as part of my cancer recovery regime. I'm going through chemo, and something about coming here every month and connecting through song with that is so far beyond I sing a song, you applaud. And I do that too, but these are special. These serve a larger purpose.
What does it feel like for you? You're in this experience, their voices are raised, they're into it. What's that like as a song leader?
It points out to me very quickly why Pete Seeger not only lived to be 93, but mostly had a smile on his face, because there is nothing quite like the sound of everyone singing at you all the time. I'll give you an example. Right after the election in November, I do an annual concert at the Arc in Ann Arbor, which is a big listening room, really great little listening room in Ann Arbor. And I've been doing this day after Thanksgiving concert for over 30 years, but it's usually just my concert. But after the election, I felt the need to do something a little more. I asked 20 friends to join me on stage to form a choir. And so I led every single song in the concert was with the choir and with the audience. And it had very little to do with me. It was a transforming experience. Just this idea of the sound coming at them, toward us, filling the room. We had 200 people there, and it was, like I said, I've never experienced anything like it. It's really transformative.
Tell me a little bit about repertoire. I'm assuming you draw from a wide range. You've got your old songs that everybody knows. You've got maybe contemporary songs that people have written. What are you looking for specifically in songs that you bring?
First and foremost, you're looking for a song that people can sing most of. At the very least, a very strong chorus, or like I said, call and response, something that they're always involved in. The way I do my local sings in the library, a little different than what I do in concert. In the library, we do use the book Rise Up Singing, but usually not until about halfway through. I have them put them away, and I'll get them warmed up with songs that don't require lyrics. And the way I do it, and I'm saying this is not the way it has to be done, but this seems to be work for my sort of reluctant singers. I then go around the circle, and people can either pick a song for us to lead out of the book. And if I don't know it, I tell them I'll try my best. And sometimes it falls apart and we laugh. It's not a performance when I'm leading a circle. So I'll try anything. I'll look as silly as they do and have fun with it. So they can either pick a song and I'll try to lead it. They can lead a song themselves, or they simply pass and we go on to the next person. And on a good night, we get all the way around the circle and it's sort of been a demo. Now, when you do it that way, I love folk music, but I love all kinds of songs that are singable. So sometimes it'll be a bunch of Broadway songs, or it'll be a bunch of classic rock tunes, or it'll be, to me, what the song is doesn't matter. What matters is that we're singing it together. So I like any song that's singable.
You're a songwriter as well. Do you use your own songs? And if you do, do you create songs in particular with the idea of singing them together in mind? And if so, what are your considerations as a songwriter if you're trying to make a song like that?
I always loved what Pete said about that. He said, as a writer, you should strive for simplicity and then learn to mistrust it. And so, and I know as you're a songwriter, and I know it's the hardest thing in the world is to write simply. It's real easy to put all these ideas and thoughts and syllables down, but the most singable songs are the ones that are easy to sing. So yeah, well, I have that in mind when I write for that. And there is a whole wave of younger songwriters out there who are creating songs just for community singing. Sarah Lynch Thomason comes to mind down in North Carolina. She's a young woman who leads Community Sings and is writing a whole new repertoire for this kind of stuff. And she's part of a network of people that are doing the same thing. That's why I think we need to have a conference or something. We all got to get together and see who's doing what out there. So, and my message to songwriters is study those songs that we do sing and we continue to sing. If as a songwriter, your goal is to have your songs last, there's only one way I have figured that songs last, and that's the ones that are being sung. Write a song that people sing. I mean, Music in My Mother's House is a good example of that, Stuart, right? People are singing that song around campfires. Those are the songs that have the potential of becoming folk songs.
I think that's true. And I think if we sort of, again, dig a little deeper into that, what are some of the things, whether we're intentional or not? For
Right.
example, a sense of repetition. I went to see Steve Earle the other night, who I really like. And he tried to get us to sing this song. It was a good song, but we couldn't follow,
Right.
he's not a song leader, right? So we're all kind of trying to, so there's this sense of repetition, simplicity. Another thing that seems to make a difference is some notes that are held. That
Absolutely.
allow the voices to blend rather than just skipping on to the next note. Any other things that come to mind? Like,
Yeah, I would say, luckily we have a whole repertoire of these songs that exist. So study those songs. Look at how they adapted the spirituals for the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. What's so powerful about a song like "Keep Your Eyes on the Prize"? Why do we keep singing that song now for centuries, given that it has the early spiritual roots? I point out sometimes when I sing that particular song, notice that it doesn't even tell you what the prize is until the last verse, right? It's freedom, of course, but it doesn't say freedom until the last verse, because I think if you keep it universal, that prize can be anything that may be personal for you. Trying to be as universal as possible is a good thing to put in a song that you're hoping people will sing and continue to sing. Keeping it simple. A lot of those songs are what Lee Hayes of the Weavers called zipper songs. That's a really nice kind of song to write, which is all you have to do is change one word or one phrase and you can sing the whole song. Once you get familiar with "We Shall Overcome," it's "We shall live in peace." It's on and on and on. You can keep going and going. So write a zipper song. That's a good way to have a community sing song. And there's been a lot of really nice contemporary songs that do that as well.
I had Ruth Pelham on here a little while ago, who writes amazing zipper songs because she
Yeah.
worked with kids so much, and that's how you can teach the song and then let it flow without having to go on.
And I also say don't be afraid to sing the chestnuts. People, they're part of our DNA. It's a good way to get started, actually, is to sing. And once I forget, I was doing a community sing somewhere, and we don't know what to sing. And I said, "Did you go to Girl Scout camp?" "Oh yeah." And then all of a sudden we sang nothing but Girl Scout camp songs for the rest of the hour. And we laugh. It's about community and singing.
It's interesting how many people that I've spoken with have talked about the experience of camp
Yeah.
and family and in the car. That was formative. Was that true for you as well?
I had a very musical family. We didn't have any professional musicians in my family, but there was a big love of music and a big love. My dad loved to sing. So yeah, we would sing all the time. And you're right, car trips. I don't know anymore. Do people I'm wondering if they're singing at camps. I don't know.
I
I
think
don't think so. I know there's less singing in schools than there's ever been.
I think that there are some camps that are part of that. I do know that car trips, people tend to have their earbuds in. Everybody's got their own private music going on. Now, Matt, there's an interesting tension, I think, between the words and the experience of singing together. On the one hand, you obviously want words that have some meaning or some positive quality to them. On the other hand, sometimes I believe that it's the experience is about 80% of it, and the words don't matter so much. It's not that they don't matter at all, but you're really going for something that people are doing together. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, there's so many of those old folk songs really don't make any sense at all. you know, and
Right.
yet they've lasted and lasted and lasted because we still sing it. I'll tell you a quick story. I just heard from you may know Mark Dvorak down in Chicago. Mark got a chance to talk with Pete just before he passed away. After he finished whatever business he had with Pete, he asked Pete, what would be the song? Like if you could only bring one song to a community sing, like kind of like what you'll ask, you know? And Pete said, oh, I guess it would be Go Tell Aunt Rhody. And I thought, Go Tell Aunt Rhody. That's one of those songs that makes no sense, you know? And Mark said, well, why that song, Pete? And Pete said, well, everybody knows it. They'll learn it quickly. They'll start singing right away. And he said, and that's the sound of peace. And I thought, that is the sound of peace. So the easiest song you can get them singing, that's what it's all about.
You're listening to How Can I Keep From Singing? My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today is Matt Watroba.
Won't be home tomorrow. One more time.
Why this is hard for a lot of us professional musicians to do, and it's the transformation I had to make when I decided to do this. We are in a profession where we do like it to be about us. Community sing leading is the opposite. You give it all away all the time. And it's helped me grow as a performer because now I give it away all the time.
I've heard again this same thing. You know, you have to let go of your ego. You
Yeah.
have some song that you want to sing, but it's about the group and what they need to sing together.
Or maybe show off your vocal tricks, but that doesn't lend itself to a community sing because it'll sound like a train wreck, you know. So you actually have to end up simplifying or spending a lot of time teaching the subtleties of a complicated melody, and that often takes too much time. It's like I want to sing, you know. That's what they're there for.
What about we've touched on this a little bit, the political implications here, because on the one hand, it's clearly about community building and connecting in that room where people are singing together. And yet there's also a long tradition of political, you know, from La Marseillaise to the civil rights movement, and where songs have had specific political purposes in movements.
It does come up, and one of the reasons why I do my circles so democratically is so that if somebody sings a song you don't agree with, for instance, well, you'll have a chance to sing your song as well. I don't I intentionally don't bring up politics or news of the day or anything like that in those specific song circles. I mean, I may do that a little more in concert, but quite frankly, I don't do it there much either, because I think the songs speak for themselves, and I think that the experience also speaks for itself. At the sing we do not too far from where I live in this library, we had 4 older gentlemen show up with red hats, MAGA hats, and that wouldn't describe the tenor of the circle, I don't think. And I thought it was really interesting to see what would happen when these guys sat down. And it's funny, as we went around, everybody seemed to sing peace songs for some reason. And after the sing, and those guys didn't make any trouble or anything, but after the sing, one of them came up to my wife and said that he had recently been in a car accident and that he had lost his voice completely. And casual singing was the only thing that was able to bring it back. And he just thanked her profusely for having these sings and that he would show up whenever he could. I tell people that I do it in a circle for a reason, because you can't back anybody up into a corner when you're in a circle.
What else would you want to add here to tell people who are interested in leading songs, whether they come to your workshop, or both rationale for it or any other tips you might have?
Basically is get it started. Even if you start with 6 people in your living room and you're just opening the Rise of Singing book and just singing, try not to get too much planning. And one of the things I also tell folks is to not to lower your expectations, but to get rid of them completely, so that whoever comes is who you deal with. And to be open and flexible enough to sing whatever the moment allows. So it's, you said get rid of your ego. I consider these things to be quite a spiritual experience, in that the best ones happen when you are absolutely present and open to anything going on in the circle. So as the leader, not only are you helping them sing, but you're also keeping an eye to make sure that everybody's okay. That's part of the safety of the space, is to, if somebody does sing something that may offend someone, I step in and I talk about that real quick, and we maybe sing "Go Tell Aunt Rhody," or some other song that isn't going to do that. So you have to be sort of aware of the fact that there are people there who are there for a variety of different reasons, but you have to assume they're there to sing. So start it. That's the main thing. Start it with 6 people. Then it's 8. Then all of a sudden it's 12. And then you're looking for a library or for a church basement. And then all of a sudden you have a tradition.
Our shared repertoire around singing together, it seems to me, has been shrinking. Partly because in school we didn't sing as much, folk songs are more off to the side, and that is what I think our generation did learn on, things like Erie Canal. Or
Mhm.
so we have this sort of repertoire that is, as song leaders, maybe larger than what our audience has, and yet we can still bring in songs that they don't know and make that work. If you're going to tell somebody, what would be kind of your top 3 or 5 songs that you've kind of always got ready, that you feel are successful in many, many situations? You may or may not sing them, but they're kind of the go-to songs. What would some of those songs be?
First of all, I love the idea of call and response. So anything you can do that gets them singing and gives them confidence. So I do an old Bob Zentz song. I don't know if you know Bob Zentz from, I think he's from Virginia, but he has a song called Hold Back the Days. And it's just line. I sing a line, they sing a line back. And by the end, they've learned a new song. So
Sing just a little bit of that, Matt, just so we can hear something.
it's like hold back the days, and let's hold back the days in which I'm living, so far from home, so far from home, so far from free, so far, like kind of like that. And then there's a line that they all sing, let a sweet song from yesterday wash over me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And so a song like that, they're like, at the end of that, they're singing, they've learned a new song, they can teach that song. So I love those call and response songs. Songs like, I sing a song, I'm on My Way, from Joe Hickerson, which is another call and response song. I found one of the other reasons I love Community Sings is because it does exactly what you're saying. If we don't sing these songs, they'll disappear, and we're watching them and seeing them disappear now. So another good reason to do this is to keep that repertoire alive, teach it to the people. And it's funny, I'll sing, lately I've been singing, wise men say only fools rush in. Oh my God, it's like they, all of a sudden you've plugged them in. It's like they have these memories of when they sang that Elvis song. And Arlo was using that as a sing along towards the end of his, as you know, Stuart, these songs, they have such a connection to our lives and to our memories. So I find the best songs like that one, it works every single time. Every single time. I tend to begin and end my sings with the same song. I like some kind of routine to it. So I love an old song from the movement called Carry It On, is a song that I sing a cappella at the end. Do you know that song? It's
I don't.
Carry it on, carry it on. I like that because it has these big long notes held out, and I want the last thing they think about is to carry on what we've created here today.
I'm so delighted to have had the opportunity to talk with you here today. And I'm so happy that you're out there doing this work that I consider essential to building community and reminding us of who we are together. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with us before we close out our time?
Just that this is in fact essential. The act of in-person, face-to-face communication. I can't tell you how important it is to our lives right now. It means the world, and I see it on people's faces every day. So my thing is to start one wherever you are. Get it going. Go to the library. Ask if you can borrow the room. Ask a couple musicians in town, and just get started.
Get started and then carry it on. So,
That's right. That's right.
Matt, again, thank you so much for spending some time here talking about this. I'll put some information about how to contact you and so on in the notes for this
I'd be
episode.
happy to come and lead us. I travel and do that, so
I'm
you let me
guessing
know.
you'd be pretty good at that. So, Matt, thanks a lot for talking with us.
Thank you, Stuart.
Every day, ours is a simple faith. Ours is a simple faith. Life is a short embrace. Heaven is in this place every day.
You've been listening to How Can I Keep From Singing, a production of Common Arts. My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today was Matt Watroba.
Thankful for dreams fulfilled every day. I feel like we're just getting it. Let's do it one more time. Ours is a sin.